Well, good morning. Good morning, everybody. While we wait for the others to join, I can see Wanjiko's just joined us online. My name is David Tyler from the World LPG Association, and I'm joined by Wanjiku, who heads up the petroleum industry of East Africa, and Max Beckett, ex-Petrodec, but now working for himself. Based in Nairobi. To have everybody online. I think we've got over 100 people joining us today. And Wanjiku, this is your event, so over to you for a word of introduction.
Thank you very much, David, and good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. It's a great pleasure for us to co-host this annual LPG gathering with the World Liquefied Petroleum Gas Association. As is industry practice, we will start with a safety brief. And firstly, we hope that if you had been driving, you have now come to a complete stop and that you have parked in a safe and secure area, meaning that you're not obstructing or being obstructed and that you're in an area that is well lit. We also trust that by now you have identified your emergency exit points from the location where you're taking your meeting and that you know or are familiar with the queue that you will receive so that you can exit calmly to an emergency assembly point. If you're sharing your meeting location with another person or other persons, we hope that you're wearing your mask correctly, covering your nose and mouth, and that you have maintained the minimal physical distance of at least 2 meters. We also trust that before you settle down to this meeting, you washed your hands with soap and running water for at least 20 seconds. And if not, this would be a good time as any for you to use your hand sanitizer. We hope that you also have disposable tissues in close proximity with yourself in the event you need to use them. And if not, that you will remember to sneeze or cough into the crook of your hand. We encourage all participants to continually sanitize their offices and working spaces using the COVID-19 standard operating procedures for disinfection. And if any of you are not familiar with this, you can drop us a chat and we'll ensure that you receive them as we make progress in the meeting. I now would like to hand the microphone back to David Tyler to take us to the next part of the program. David?
Thanks, Wanjiku. And yes, strange times it is indeed. I thought last year was going to be a one-off when we had to revert to a virtual platform for this annual event, but not so. We're forced onto the virtual platform again this year, and let's hope this will be the very last time, and we can come back and visit Nairobi again next year around this time. So, as I said earlier, Wanjiku and I have been working this summit for several years, and we've run this in the past. African scene, and then in the afternoon, after the lunch break, we'll be having
David, the location of
more the global picture to see what's going on around the world. Yes.
Sorry, David, you keep breaking off. I'm not sure whether it's the location where you're taking the meeting from or your internet connectivity.
Okay, let me do something here.
Thank you.
Let me do something here. I'll try and fix this. Yes, we're at the mercy of the internet these days, I'm afraid to say. I'm seeing if that will... Does that help at all, Wenjiku?
Yes, it does. So carry on,
okay.
please. We hope that you hold steady.
Right. So what I was saying was that the first session this morning will be focused very much on East Africa and Africa, and in the afternoon we'll be taking ourselves beyond the continent and looking at other parts of the world where we can share some experience. The theme is LPG, a reliable, resilient, and essential cooking fuel. And this certainly came out of the pandemic last year when lockdowns were forced upon many people in many countries. And the one thing that emerged from that was that in order to get LPG supplies out to populations in lockdown, there had to be some sort of permit waiver to allow the distribution channel to operate, and operate they did. And the end result, and I've seen some of the numbers from 2020, is that LPG demand was extremely resilient in 2020, particularly in the residential sector. And as a result, LPG has extended its exceptional tag to essential and exceptional. So we now talk about LPG as being an essential cooking fuel. So that's one of the themes today: a reliable, resilient, and essential cooking fuel. I'm very happy to introduce Max Beckett to you today, who will be moderating the sessions this morning. And we have a busy program. We'll be setting the stage shortly with the chairman of PIEA, Millicent Onyonyi, and then we'll head straight into a panel discussion, which Max will right, and this focuses on chain innovation, and there's some really interesting speakers we have lined up for you there. So Max is going to take you through these programs. After the coffee break, another panel discussion on clean energy financing, and then we move towards the tail end of the first session with a policy collaboration discussion with Wenjiku herself. And then finally, one of my colleagues in WLPGA, Alison Abbott, will be introducing Joy Shayin, who's the new coordinator of WLPG chapter in Nigeria. And Alison will also be talking about some initiative in Kenya. So, busy old program. I won't often into detail about the midday break. But what I'd like to do now is hand over to Max, because Max is going to be taking the control on the moderating of these sessions coming up. So Max Beckett dialing in from the UK, I think, Max.
Yeah, morning, everybody. So, well, I think we begin with Millicent, who's going to set the stage at 9:10. I just need to... Do we have to swap from this to the next, or does she take over from the screen?
Well, we'll move automatically to the next session, which is basically the first session at the moment as we speak is basically the opening ceremony, which includes the speech from the chairman of PIEA, Millicent Onyonyi, setting up the stage, and then at 9:30, that's when we're going to move to the next session.
Okay. Do we have Millicent here?
I am sitting in for Millicent.
Okay.
Yes, and I just want to check if our vice chair is on call, and if not, we can swiftly move ahead, and I will read out the remarks from the chair of PIEA, who's Millicent Onyonyi, the CEO of Ola Energy. So I will start off on behalf of the PIEA chairman with an introduction of the Petroleum Institute of East Africa for those who may be attending our forums for the very first time. So the Petroleum Institute of East Africa is a professional industry association whose membership is drawn from large, medium, and small oil marketing companies, as well as vital petroleum common user facilities. In this case, the Kenya Pipeline the Kenya Pipeline Company, who are the pipeline enablers for logistics purposes of oil, and also the Kenya Petroleum refineries. We also have oil and gas service providers as members of PIEA, and these include transporters, financial institutions, engineering consulting firms, amongst others. And we also have individual members as PIEA, as part of the PIEA family. So the crucial part of PIEA's mandate include strategic advocacy, and we advocate for policy and regulatory framework that firstly encourages investments in the oil and gas sector. And secondly, we also participate in the development of standards and best practices. And while across the world, it is national standards bodies that have the mandate to develop standards and best practices, it is necessary for those technical committees that are constituted within national standards bodies to get contribution from experts, and those experts in the oil and gas sector, because that sector is highly specialized, are drawn from industry associations such as PIEA, because this is where they reside. The other key mandate of PIEA is to facilitate capacity building in all its form through trainings, workshops, and publications as well. And one of the reasons that we are having, or that we've been having, this annual platform on LPG, on the LPG segment, is to do exactly that, is to build capacity, to enable industry players to learn from each other, and to also enable our industry to learn from other sectors, because we don't exist in isolation. We exist with other economic development participants from other sectors of business, both in private sector and in the public sector. And everything that PIEA does is to enable the industry to operate in a manner that creates a level playing field for everyone, and in an environment where there is some form of guarantee that there'll be a return on investment, and in an environment where industry can invest to ensure that the citizenry gets the full benefit of oil and gas products in the best way possible. So PIEA's focus on energy resource, or on energy resource, is mainly, or in summary, PIEA is involved in basically all matters petroleum and petroleum products that hinge on access and affordability of petroleum energy by consumers, and that supports economic development. So allow me now to get on with what the chairman wanted to address, or give an address with regard to setting the stage for this summit. So the PIEA continues to play its critical role of providing platforms for interaction and dialogue for and or between industry and other stakeholders on diverse oil and gas subjects, and also promoting professionalism by building capacity through forums such as this annual LPG Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, it is gratifying that with collaboration of the World Liquefied Petroleum Gas Association, we have yet again hosted this annual International LPG Forum virtually for the second time, whose focus is on upskilling the use of LPG in Africa. In line with this year's summit, LPG, a reliable, resilient, and essential cooking fuel, excellent topics, as David Tyler has alluded to, have been drawn up for discussions that we hope will be led by highly qualified and experienced speakers from around the world. And we are confident that all of us will greatly benefit from the sharing of knowledge, sharing of experiences, and sharing of technology, which when combined will enable each country to fast-track consumption of LPG by putting in place the requisite policies, legislative framework, and the accompanying LPG investments. For us in East Africa, and specifically for us in Kenya, today is certainly a defining moment for our industry, because we will launch the East Africa Women in LPG Kenya chapter, following this sustained scientific and economic proof that indeed the most reachable antidote to, one, eliminating preventable disease and death of 21,650 Kenyan women and children of 5 years and below, can be addressed by the increase or upscaling of the use of LPG as a primary household cooking fuel. LPG is also within reach to facilitate the achievement of Kenya's 10% forest cover by 2030, and to enable Kenya and other East African countries, and indeed other countries in sub-Saharan Africa, to reclaim their water towers. Kenya is rooting to reclaim 5 of our water towers by increasing the use of LPG. We believe that LPG is also the key bullet in the climate change mitigation, and we believe that it plays a critical role and will play a critical role in increasing agricultural produce and hence enabling the country to meet its food security requirements. We have no doubt and have proof that LPG has a big and significant role in enabling Kenya to meet its gender equality endeavor, which is enshrined in our constitution, and which is also one of the sustainable development goals that Kenya has subscribed to and adopted, and also entrenched into the specific policies in our country. We believe that LPG will also ensure that the dignity for all and the quality of life for all is improved by the facilitation of the adoption of LPG by various policymakers, and also by the support of private sector in ensuring that the necessary investments are made so that then LPG is accessed and afforded by each and every household that is currently not connected to LPG. What a great time it is for us in Kenya. We hope that the LPG, Women in LPG chapter will do exactly what it is that we expect it to do, which is to increase the LPG footprint in the areas that are currently not using the modern clean cooking fuel. We in Kenya also have data, and also in other East African countries, and we are also hoping that we will learn from other African countries. We have data that proves beyond doubt that LPG is cheaper than charcoal, than firewood, and kerosene, and hence we have a good case to transition non-LPG users to LPG by 2028, which is the target that Kenya's policymaker brought forward from 2030 during the Clean Cooking Forum gathering that was held in November 2019 right here in Nairobi. We also have a public-private LPG penetration action plan, and I think as part of the conversations today, we will be sharing the importance of having not only policies, but also country action plans that are drawn from these to ensure the public and private sector can keep up to the targets, the mandates, the responsibilities, and the obligations of each sector player to ensure that the citizenry then is connected seamlessly to this modern, reliable, resilient, and essential cooking fuel. Being that LPG is a safety-sensitive modern fuel, we have our annual LPG Global Industry Practice Training Workshop, which again we're running in collaboration with the World Liquefied Petroleum Gas Association, specifically David Tyler, who's the key resource person, seasoned and experienced LPG executive. The workshops will be running from tomorrow, the 8th of April 2021, and on Friday, 9th April 2021. And I, on behalf of PIEA directors and members, would encourage all those who haven't signed up their teams to please do so today. For us, the certification and the training is part and parcel of a regulatory requirement, and therefore certificates will be issued as required to all participants. So please join in, ensure that you sign up your teams, this is going to be a training that is beyond the minimum set requirements by the regulator as per the law, and to enable your teams to operate safely and to ensure that investments that you've put in place are indeed managed and operated in a manner or in a way that meets the globally acceptable standards. Let me now hand over the microphone to Max Beckett, and I wish us all fruitful deliberations today and in the next 2 days as well. These remarks have been made by Wanjiku Manyara on behalf of the chairman of PIEA, Millicent Onyonyi. Over to you, Max.
Thank you. And it's a shame Millicent couldn't be here, but thanks for reading that. So as I understand, we're now going to, if you look on the left-hand side, you have a stage button, and that will allow you to click into the next or the first round table, which is about to start. So I'm going to be switching across, and we can begin that session on LPG and why it's a reliable, resilient, and essential cooking fuel.